Studio MAPPA, you continue to up your game each week. Now, when I got into this episode of Yuri on Ice, I wasn't really surprised. Now, I'm not saying this in a bad or negative way, but from the preview that we got from last week to show for what this episode would have been about, I kind of had the feeling that gut feeling that they would have exchanged rings. Something of that sort would have happened. And I came into this episode and I saw it and I was like, damn it, I knew my conscience, I knew my gut was right. Victor and Yuri exchange rings. This is something that's possibly done in other series, other BL series or such, but not in the way that Yuri on Ice has done it. And the fact they've done it in a way that seems just very casual was a very nice touch to it. It was done casually. There was no lashbacks. There was nobody, poking fun. And it was like you see a man and a woman doing it, and it was just there. It was just there. And this episode as well was from, usually we would get from Yuri's perspective. It's always him directing the show, but this episode we got from Victor's point of view. He was directing everything in this show. So we see where they're in Barcelona now, and this is the final stage right now for this series. The last stage is going to be in Barcelona, while the 6 finalists are going to compete, and then we're going to see who's going to win the gold medal at the Grand Prix finals. So, they exchanged rings, and the one thing that really interested me was when it came down to the ending scene of the episode, when they showed, because they said Yuri, when the year before in the series, the year before Yuri and Victor are together now and everything, there was a banquet. So anytime after the Grand Prix finals, the finalists and everyone around them has a banquet, so everybody's talking and drinking and just having a good time. And because the year before Yuri practically bombed the GPF, he drank himself silly. And I mean, this man, he drank himself so silly, he started breakdancing, he started dancing on poles with Chris. I mean, the breakdance, the dance off with Yurio, and then he starts dancing with Victor. And at that banquet, and it's because when they were going out with each other, and then they exchanged rings, and then they met everyone at some restaurant, and they all were talking about how come Yuri, don't you remember what happened at the banquet last year? It's because Yuri drank his mind off. He drank himself to the fullest. And at the banquet, it was there. And everything, when you think about everything, it came into a full circle, through a full 360. It was at the banquet that Yuri asked Victor to be his coach. And it was there that Victor fell in love at first sight with Yuri. Now, when you think about back to the first episode, why Victor decided to travel all the way from Russia to Japan to become this man's coach, is because of what happened a few months prior to the very first episode. So the way Yuri was acting, and when you think about when Victor decided, remember when he picked for their performance with Yurio and Yuri, when he picked Agape and Eros, it's because of how he saw Yuri acting at the banquet, which I found usually they always point out that Victor is a very forgetful person, but once he found that video and he saw Yuri, performing his performance, he automatically remembered, this was the guy I met at the banquet. I have to get close to him. And that's why he did everything till now. So everything, when you think about it, everything just came to a closure. It came to the closure, and it's all because Yuri was drunk off his ass. He was drunk off his ass, and he asked Victor in English, will you be my coach? And at that same time, Victor became very interested in Yuri, because he saw a side to him that can shine so bright. He found that Eros in Yuri, and he wanted to bring that out of him. He wanted to bring that confidence out of Yuri. And you saw when you know how he used to flirt with Yuri in the beginning of the episodes, it's because he thought Yuri remembered what happened at the banquet. And if you think about it, in regards to Eros, the story, how the playboy came into town and seduced the most beautiful woman there, and then when he was done, he left her. Now you see it's actually the opposite. Victor was never the seducer. He was never the playboy. He was indeed the woman. And Yuri was the playboy. He wooed Victor on that night of the banquet. Tipped him, he danced with him, he knocked him off his socks. And you know, Victor has been going to these banquets for many years now. And the fact that this one person came in and changed everything, just changed Victor's world overall, because even Victor said that he was missing two things in his life. He was missing love and life at the same time, and Yuri brought those things to him. Because with Yuri's influence, it brought things that Victor has not been feeling for over 20 years in his life. And it's like, it amazed me how they brought into this episode, and just that scene, the ending scene of last year's banquet, was able to answer so many questions people had, because everybody's always wondering, why did Victor fall in love with Yuri? It kind of feels shallow. Well, guess what? You got your answer in this week's episode. Now it ties in with everything from the first episode up to now, and just like, you know, MAPPA, Saya Yamamoto, everyone that is working behind Yuri on Ice, I have to say, you guys are doing an amazing job with this series, man. That was amazing. I'm so surprised on how well this series has come out. Like, yo, that did have me shocked. It had me shocked by the end of the episode. And when you really think about it, it's just like everything, all the loose ends that we had. Of course, there's still some other loose ends, but the biggest questions of all that we had, it was answered in this week's episode. And definitely, we can expect a wedding to happen once Yuri wins gold. It's not an if and or, but he will win gold. And by the end of the series, he will get that gold medal. And he will, you know, marry Victor. So another good episode once again. I did enjoy this episode. And again, like MAPPA, you guys are taking leaps and bounds. You guys are treading on dangerous waters, but the way you're doing it is giving hope to other studios to not be afraid of, you know, going into the scary parts that, you know, a lot of people don't want to go into, and to make better stories, to create better stories. Not that I'm saying there aren't good stories, but they can develop more. So this was a really good episode. This was a good episode, and it revealed a lot to us that we have been having questions, and now we're just waiting for the last two episodes to come. We're coming to a close very soon, guys. So if you guys saw this week's episode of Yuri on Ice, do drop a comment down below on how you felt about this week's episode. How do you feel that it's about to come to a close? And also, I'm gonna throw out there, like, what are your plans for the winter season? I want to know about that. The links are in the description box as always. And I'm Kimmy Chan of Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye.